So my name is Stephanie Ripley. I'm the program manager for the Clean Energy Improvement Program at Alberta Municipalities. And this information session is on the Clean Energy Improvement Program for the City of Edmonton pilot, the residential pilot of their program. I'm also joined by my colleagues from the City of Edmonton, Ashish Mohan and Claire Penny. Ashish is going to be managing the Q&A throughout the presentation. So if you do have questions, please use the Q&A in Zoom to ask any of those questions. There's also an upvote feature there. So if somebody asks a question that you also think is interesting and you'd like it to be answered, you can just click the thumbs up beside it, and that will make it a top priority for us to answer. So we'll answer all of the upvoted questions first at the end, and then if we've got time, we'll get through all of the rest of them. So that's sort of most of the intro stuff. There will be quite a bit of information, as I mentioned, but we're going to try and break it up with a couple of polls to try and keep everything fresh and interesting. And we will, without further ado, we'll get started here. So if you can head to slido.com, that's where the polls are going to appear. There's not going to be one for a couple of slides here, but you can kind of get it prepped. You can enter in the code that's here, 3480003. You can also just scan the QR code on this slide and that'll take you to the same place. And then when we do our first poll, it will appear in that browser that you have open, or you can do it on your mobile device if you want to, or just if you're on your computer on a separate window. All right. So the very first thing we want to do is acknowledge the treaty territory that we're joining you from today. So Alberta Municipalities and the City of Edmonton both respectfully acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional and ancestral territories of many Indigenous First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. We recognize that what we call Alberta is really the traditional and ancestral territory of many peoples presently subject to treaties 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, and 6 regions of the Métis Nation of Alberta. I'm joining you today from Treaty 6 territory in Edmonton. I suspect most of you are joining from there as well if you're in Edmonton, but if you're traveling and joining us virtually, you might be in a different treaty area in the province as well, or elsewhere in Canada for that matter. We really do respect the courageous and resilient community leadership of Indigenous peoples of all ages, of knowledge keepers, of elders, those who are still with us today and those who have gone before us as well. And ultimately, we make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation, but also of gratitude and commitment to pursuing an inclusive, a collaborative, and a respectful path forward towards building strong communities together. So we're getting to our first poll. What we want to test here, or I guess it's not really a test, but what we want to assess is how familiar you are with the Clean Energy Improvement Program. I realize there's going to be some folks out there that don't know much. They're brand new. Some people that have just heard about it, but want to know a little bit more. Folks that are fairly familiar, but they want to know the details for Edmonton's program specifically. And then somebody maybe that we didn't have anybody at the last session, but we'll see if there's one here that's an expert and they just wanted to know specifically about some details about the Edmonton program. So thanks for those of you that are jumping in already. This is great. So yeah, quite a few that have heard about it but want to know more, some that are brand new, which is really great, some that are a little bit more familiar. We'll give a little bit more time for everyone to kind of get on Slido. Initially, I know sometimes, especially if you're joining from a mobile device, it's not always easy to navigate. So we'll just wait and see if anybody else wants to participate. You can continue to participate as well, even if I move on to the next slide, but it seems like we may just have, oh, there we go, one more coming. Super. So lots of folks that it seems to have heard about it, but would like to know a little more. Hopefully this session will give you all of the information you're looking for about how the program works, eligibility criteria, and how you can go about participating when it reopens on August 22nd. So this is super. Thanks everyone for jumping in there. Oh, and quite a few new folks as well. That's excellent. All right, so I've mentioned a couple of times Alberta Municipalities, so I want to make sure that everyone understands who we are and what our purpose is with the Clean Energy Improvement Program. So for those of you who aren't aware, we are a not-for-profit association that has been serving communities in Alberta since 1905. We work with municipal leaders to advocate for solutions to municipal issues, but we also support communities by providing services and helping them thrive to be more resilient. So one of those services that we offer is being the program administrator for the Clean Energy Improvement Program, as designated by the Clean Energy Improvement Regulation by the Government of Alberta. So really what we do is we partner with municipalities across the province that want to deliver this program, and we help them offer it locally to their residents and their business owners. All right, so now you know who we are. Let's get a bit of an overview of what the Clean Energy Improvement Program is. So we're going to watch a little video here before just to get things kicked off.
Want to lower your utility bill? Invest in energy efficiency or renewable energy. The only question is, how do you finance it? Your municipality, and Alberta municipalities, has got the answer. With the Clean Energy Improvement Program. The Clean Energy Improvement Program gives residential and commercial property owners access to competitive long-term financing for a wide range of upgrades, like adding insulation, replacing furnaces and hot water heaters, upgrading doors and windows, or even adding solar. But the big benefit: you can get financing for up to 100% of project costs with no extra bill to worry about, because the payments are integrated into your property tax bill. That means that if you move before your upgrades are paid off, the cost stays with the property, not with you. And the next property owner will continue to benefit from the lower energy bill, lower utility bills, an upgraded property, and jobs in your community. It's a different kind of financing for renovations that make a difference. Learn more about the Clean Energy Improvement Program at ceip.abmunis.ca.
Okay, so hopefully that gave you a pretty good overview, but to dig into a bit more of the detail of what the Clean Energy Improvement Program is all about, or for the rest of the presentation, I'll probably refer to it as CEIP, just to make things a little bit shorter and easier to pronounce. It's just the acronym for the program. Really, CEIP isn't your average financing tool. So it's really specifically designed to increase the uptake of energy efficiency retrofits and of renewable energy installations on residential and commercial buildings. Through CEIP, property owners, so private property owners, borrow funds from their municipality to pay for upgrades on their properties, and then they pay that money back over time through their municipal property tax bill. So it kind of appears like a local improvement charge might on your property tax bill, but it'll just be listed as a CEIP tax. It's a model that has proven successful in many other jurisdictions in the US and Canada. In other places, you may have heard it referred to as PACE, or Property Assessed Clean Energy. CEIP really is just Alberta's version of a PACE program. And the way it's different from other financial instruments or other loans that you might be able to get from other places is because that repayment, or what we call the Clean Energy Improvement Tax, is tied to the property and not the property owner. That means that when the property owner sells their building or their property, the new owner takes on that CEIP tax and repayment and continues to benefit from the upgrades, energy cost savings that will be seen from the upgrades that have been done. And because of the way that the repayment is structured and the money is coming from the municipality, municipalities can usually offer a lower interest rate on repayment than many folks can get through their bank or through other financial institutions. The third piece here is that CEIP is a municipal program. So municipalities choose whether they want to offer the program to their residents by passing a CEIP tax bylaw. That's sort of their method to opt in. Each municipality, for this reason, has a slightly different CEIP program. At the base, they all function kind of the same, but every municipality is going to have slightly different criteria for participation. But the regulation, the CEIP regulation, provincially guides all programs in the province. And where we come in as the program administrator is when a municipality wants to get a program up and running, they'll contact us and they'll contract us to deliver their program as the program administrator and to also help them design and develop it. So I'm going to pass things off to Claire Penny at this point from the City of Edmonton to talk to us a little bit more about the specifics of Edmonton's CEIP program, both the pilot and what's coming next.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Hopefully by the end of the presentation, we'll get everyone ready to strap on the tool belts and get an EnerGuide audit booked. But anyways, to start off, I just wanted to go through a little bit of our CEIP journey so far at the City of Edmonton. So Edmonton's community energy transition strategy and city plan has set an aggressive target to be carbon neutral in its corporate operations by 2040, and for the entire community to produce net zero GHG emissions by 2050. Innovative solutions like CEIP strengthen our local economy, protect the environment, and create a more low carbon Edmonton. On August 19th, 2021, City Council passed the CEIP tax bylaw, which, as Stephanie said, provides eligible Edmonton property owners with access to low-cost financing for energy-efficient upgrades and renewable energy installations. The financing is then repaid by the property owner via property taxes. The 2-year pilot launched on March 29, 2022 for residential properties and on June 1st, 2022 for commercial properties. And Stephanie, next slide. I just wanted to go over a brief summary of our pilot results so far and continue to be exciting as more results come in. So some of our most common retrofits are solar, non-surprisingly, windows and doors, insulation, and water heating. We've completed we have 33 projects that have been approved so far, with 13 completed, and an average investment on a property is around $37,000. And Steph, next slide. So this is what we're here about today, and we're very excited about. So on August 22nd, the CEIP pilot, residential pilot, will reopen to allow up to 52 additional Edmonton homes to participate. The portal will open at 11 a.m. on August 22nd, and it will be available at myceip.ca on Edmonton's webpage. The CEIP program in Edmonton requires applicants to make a minimum of 3 energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades to residential homes. And financing is repaid over a period of 20 years through property taxes and is transferable should the home be sold. And Steph, next slide. We're also excited to discuss today that we will be launching a permanent program in early 2024. It will be a multi-year CEIP within the City of Edmonton municipal boundaries. The program will rely on $20 million in new financing to support approximately 500 residential properties or 40 commercial properties, or a combination of energy improvement projects. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Steph.
Super, thanks, Claire. So that'll give you a sense of what's going to happen in Edmonton, but getting back to sort of how the program works and why people might choose this over other financing options that are out there. There really are 3 key benefits to participating in CEIP versus accessing a loan from somewhere else. First, CEIP in Edmonton does offer a below market interest rate for their pilot program. So this is something important to note, that what we're talking about today is the reopening of the residential portion of the pilot. The permanent program that Claire mentioned will likely have a different interest rate than this. So details about that will come out early next year. But for right now, if you're planning to apply on August 22nd when this reopens, the interest rate is sitting at 3.16% right now, which, considering today's interest rates, is pretty great. Property owners can also finance up to 100% of their project costs. We do know that sometimes in the case of these projects, those upfront costs are a significant barrier. So this helps with the adoption of these upgrades, allowing up to 100% to be financed. The program also offers long repayment terms. So the term of repayment can be up to 20 years, depending on what upgrade you want to install. And really what that means is it makes the monthly or annual payments more affordable. It lowers them if you can amortize it over a longer period. The CEIP financing can also be repaid at any time without a penalty. So all of those things together, it's a pretty compelling package for a financing offer. The second thing here is that technical support. So you will be supported by Alberta municipalities as the program administrator throughout the process of submitting your application, of completing your project, and paying contractors for the work, which the program does on your behalf. We're really here to support you throughout the entire thing. So if you have questions, we're only an email or a phone call away, and we're happy to help you through the process. You'll also receive technical support from an energy advisor through the process of completing your EnerGuide home evaluation. So as part of the program, you do need to have an EnerGuide home evaluation completed. This is going to help you identify, before you start your projects or before you decide what upgrades you want to do, which upgrades will save you the most energy in your home and which you may want to prioritize prioritize first. And then after your project is done, you'll get a post-project home energy evaluation, which then helps you see what your estimated energy savings are going to be as a result of those upgrades. The third piece here is the transferability of financing. We've already mentioned this a couple of times, but if one of the reasons that you as a homeowner haven't completed clean energy improvements on your, or clean energy upgrades on your property is because you just don't know how long you'll be in your home, you're not sure if you're going to see the payback, the clean energy improvement program just eliminates that barrier entirely. Because the financing is tied to the property and can be transferred to the next owner, it means that they get to continue to enjoy the benefits of the upgrades, but they also continue to pay for the upgrades when that financing transfers. So you can pay for them as long as you're in the home, and then the next owner continues to pay for them when they're in the home. Financing upgrades through the program is also a really great way to reduce your energy use in your home. So it helps save you money. It also reduces your environmental impact if you're using less energy overall. So we're going to walk through a project together, the life cycle of a project from when you first apply all the way through to when you actually complete your project. So you have an idea of what you might need to do at each step. So if you have a good look at this slide, you'll see that there are really 8 high-level steps to completing a project. There's some sub-steps in each of these, but there's sort of 8 main milestones that you're going to reach throughout the journey of your project. The first one is pre-qualification. So here, you as the property owner would submit a pre-qualification form on our website. If you want to have a look at what this looks like, it is available now on the website. You just won't be able to select Edmonton as a municipality option when you're looking at the form. But if you plan to apply on August 22nd, I would actually recommend going and having a look at the form, seeing what information that you need to submit, so that on August 22nd at 11 a.m. when we open things up, you've got everything ready to go and you have all the information you need. Through this pre-qualification form, you'd acknowledge that you've read the terms and conditions of the program, that you understand them, and you'd provide us basic information about you as the property owner and about your property as well. We don't really need a lot of information about your project at this point. This is really just to try and assess whether you and your property are eligible to participate before you get too far down the path of getting that home energy evaluation and deciding what upgrades that you want to complete. So both us and the municipality will review that for eligibility. And in the city of Edmonton, to be eligible to participate, the property at minimum has to be located within the boundaries of the city, which makes sense. It has to be a low-rise residential property. What that means is it's a single family home, townhome, row homes, that type of thing. Anything that is able to get a home energy evaluation completed on it should meet the category of low-rise residential. The property owner also has to be up to date on all their property tax payments with the city, and any other accounts with the city have to be up to date as well. So you want to make sure that everything is current for any payments that you have and accounts you have with the city. All property secured debt associated with the property, like a mortgage or a home equity line of credit, also has to be up to date on payments for those things. So this isn't an exhaustive list. Property owners, we do recommend that you always refer to the terms and conditions for the Edmonton program on the website for the full eligibility criteria and those details, but this gives you at least an initial idea of the base level of eligibility to participate. So on to step 2, which is the pre-project home evaluation. So in order to get to step 2, we'll have reviewed your pre-qualification form and sent you an approval to move on to the next step. At this point, you would then select a home energy evaluator or an energy advisor to complete your pre-project home evaluation. You can do this by selecting somebody on the qualified contractors list on the CEIP website if you want to, or you can use somebody that is on the Greener Homes list as well. What you'll need to do is just make sure that they become a qualified contractor for CEIP before they complete the work. So you can go either route. Once that evaluation is complete, then your energy advisor is going to send you an invoice for the work that you'll pay. And they're also going to send you a homeowner information sheet and a renovation upgrade report. Both of those things are going to give you all of the information you need to start deciding what upgrades that you want to complete on your home. Once you'll pay the contractor for that evaluation, but hang on to that invoice and the quote that they provide you for the post-project energy evaluation, because you'll need to submit those as part of your CEIP application process at a later date. So hang on to all of the documents that they provide to you after they've completed the evaluation. So with that evaluation complete, you can use it to select what upgrades that make the most sense for your property and which you want to finance through the program. And once you've decided what upgrades you want to finance, then you can reach out to get quotes from the relevant qualified contractors to do that work. So to choose those contractors, you can go to our qualified contractors directory on the website. So at myceip.ca, there's information there about what contractors can do work through the program. Or if you have somebody that you already know that does the work and you want to work with them, as long as they become a qualified contractor before you submit your full application, you can go that route as well. We do recommend reaching out to at least 3 different contractors. This isn't a requirement, but it's a strong recommendation just to make sure that really you're getting the best value for your dollar and that you're getting what you need for your home. It's hard to do that without actually comparing a few different quotes from different contractors. It is important to note that it is a requirement of the program that any work done that is financed through the program does have to be completed by a qualified contractor. So again, making sure that if you have someone that you want to work with that isn't on that list yet, that they come onto the list. And if you have a contractor that has questions, you can send them our way and our team's happy to answer any questions they might have about what it means to become a qualified contractor, how that process works. It's pretty straightforward, so it shouldn't be overly onerous for them to join the directory. So what upgrades are actually eligible to be financed through CEIP? So in order to be eligible for financing, an upgrade has to increase the energy efficiency or the use of renewable energy on your property. So only upgrades listed on the CEIP website are eligible for CEIP financing. That said, there's a wide range of upgrades eligible for the program, things like HVAC equipment, windows, doors, and insulation, solar PV, lighting and controls, ground and air source heat pumps, water heating. All of them are listed on the CEIP website in the upgrades, the residential upgrades section, and each of those upgrades has all of the eligibility criteria listed with it as well. It is really important to note the big yellow box at the top of this slide that to qualify for financing in Edmonton's program, you do need to install a minimum and install and finance a minimum of 3 upgrades. So really, this is trying to make sure that people are getting as far down the path towards net zero as possible, of saving as much energy as possible through the financing that they're accessing through the program. If you go back to your energy evaluation, that your home energy evaluation that you had done at the beginning of this process, it's really going to help you identify what 3 upgrades make the most sense for your property as well. So on that note, we want to know what upgrades you think your home needs. If you've had an EnerGuide home evaluation completed already, you can let us know what types of upgrades were identified that you might need. If you haven't had one done, you will do one through the process of participating in CEIP if you do that, but you can take your best guess as to what you think you'll need. Excellent. The first person has got 4 of them already, which is awesome. Yeah, you can select multiple of these, so we'll give a little bit of time for you to see what you think you might need. Insulation, air sealing. It's really nice to see that at the top of the list. Actually, it is one of the things I think that often gets overlooked, and it's really important to energy efficiency in a home. I know I live in a 1948 house that is very leaky, and we're in the process right now of trying to seal up all those gaps to help with that. So this is great. Lots of building envelope improvements, which is really nice to see. Solar PV, which is always popular. Some ground and air source heat pumps, excellent. Something to mention about the upgrades as well, the City of Edmonton does offer a custom upgrades path. So on the eligible upgrades list, you'll see there are custom upgrades available there. If you have a really specific system in your home that doesn't really fit in any of the other buckets, there is a way for you to potentially still participate. So if you have something like that that you're unsure of, you can always reach out to us and we can walk you through the process of what it might look like to go down the path of a custom upgrade. But for most folks, what you need to install in your home is going to exist already in the eligible upgrades list. So great, thanks so much for that participation. Windows, doors, insulation, air sealing, awesome. Yeah, people seem to be on the right path. One of the best things that you can do from an energy efficiency standpoint is try to seal up and insulate your home first, and then install your renewable energy. So you're reducing your energy load ultimately, and then offsetting with either solar PV or another renewable energy source. So that's great. Thanks, everyone. And we've got one more. I'm just wondering as well whether you're interested in retrofitting your home to be net zero. And for anyone that's not aware of what net zero means, really what that means is it's a home that's designed, modeled, and constructed to produce as much energy as it consumes over the course of a year. So you'd typically be, electrifying your heating sources and your water heating, and then putting solar PV on to offset any of the electricity that you're using is usually the process to do that. Great. So we've got a good chunk that are yes, some unsure, and a few that are no. That's fine. This is just sort of for the city of Edmonton to gauge interest. I know there's lots of interest out there. There are contractors that specialize specifically in net zero retrofits on older homes as well, or on just existing homes. So if you are interested in that, it's worth doing sort of a Google search of finding a contractor that specializes in that kind of work. All right. Thanks, everyone. So moving on to the next step, once you as a property owner have selected the eligible upgrades and the contractors that you want to finance through the program, then you'll prepare your full application form along with any required supporting documents that you need to submit. This would include the receipt for your home energy evaluation, your initial one, any quotes for the upgrades that you want to have installed, and then any other supporting documentation. So on the website in the upgrades page, every single upgrade has a little list of the documents that are required to be submitted at application stage. So I'd recommend that you make sure you're going through that and just checking off and making sure you have every single one of those with that application package. Once you have that application package ready, then you submit it to Alberta municipalities for approval. It is really important to have that package as complete as possible. That will speed up our ability to actually process your application in a timely fashion. If we have to do a bunch of back and forth with you and your contractor to get information, it's just going to delay the process and make things a little bit longer before we can get you that approval. So when you're putting your application form together, you're going to need to know what costs are actually eligible for CEIP financing, and you need to list those in your application form. So we have these broken down into 3 buckets, one of which is capital costs. So this includes the equipment and labor costs for those upgrade installations. We also allow professional services costs to be financed through the program. So this would be something like if you have engineering work that maybe needs to happen before an upgrade gets installed, that would be considered as an eligible cost as well. The cost of the home energy evaluation, currently in Edmonton's program, the cost of the home energy evaluation isn't financeable, but it likely will be in future versions of the program. So, but that's an example of a professional service cost. Incidental costs are also eligible through the program. And what this means is these are costs that are required for the upgrade to be installed. They're not actually part of the installation of the upgrade itself. So this would be something like roof repair prior to solar PV being put on. If you know that you've got a really old roof that needs to be replaced or repaired before solar, that could be an incidental cost. If you're doing insulation upgrades and you pull your wall apart and realize that there's mold that you need to remediate first, you could do that. Asbestos abatement in insulation areas could be part of an incidental cost as well. It is important to note that incidentals do have a cap on them. So you can only finance up to 15% of the project's total capital cost in incidentals. And really, if the incidental is related to a specific upgrade, it would be 15% of the associated upgrade that it's related to. So there is a cap there, just so you're not financing the full amount in incidentals. But we recognize that when you're doing renovations, there's often things that come up that you need to do before you can actually get your upgrade installed. So those are financeable to a certain amount. As for the financing terms themselves, as I mentioned earlier, the interest rate for Edmonton's residential pilot is 3.16%, and it has a maximum term length of either 20 years or the effective useful life of the upgrade, whichever one is less. So that effective useful life, again, if you head to the upgrades page on the website, find the upgrade you're interested in, it will have an effective useful life listed there. That's going to be the term of your financing for that upgrade. The project's total capital costs also need to be between $3,000 and $50,000 to be financeable through the program. So financing is also ultimately limited by the amount of property tax that you pay in the previous year prior to when you're applying to the program. So as an example, if say you pay $2,000 in property taxes, paid $2,000 in property taxes last year, your annual CEIP tax payment can't be more than $2,000. So when you submit your application, we'll help you with that calculation to make sure that what you're asking for doesn't exceed that property tax cap. If you pay if you have fairly high property taxes, you may not hit that cap before you hit the $50,000 cap. But if you have lower property taxes, you may hit that cap before you get to 50K. So once that application package is complete, you're going to submit it to Alberta municipalities for review. We'll contact you if more information is needed or if we have questions about what you've submitted. And if that project application is approved, then you and the City of Edmonton will enter into what we call the Clean Energy Improvement Agreement. And this is the financing agreement for your project. You will also enter into a project agreement with you, your qualified contractor, and Alberta municipalities. And so that's ultimately the service agreement to install the upgrades. If you have more than one contractor, you may need to enter into more than one project agreement, but you'll only ever enter into one financing agreement. And after those agreements are signed, the property owner, so you as the property owner and your contractor would receive an email from us called the Installation Authorization Notice. And really what this is telling you is that work can begin. You can't actually start work on any of the upgrades until you receive that email. So it's after both those agreements are signed, you'll get an email from us saying, go ahead, start your project. Now, if a deposit has been requested at this time, you would then pay your qualified contractor that deposit amount. The City of Edmonton doesn't allow deposits to be paid in advance through the program, but what you can do is if you've paid that, hang on to your receipt, your proof of payment, and you can submit that at the end of the project and be reimbursed that amount so it gets added to your financing if you'd like. It is important to note that upgrades that are financed through CEIP can only appear in one agreement with your qualified contractor, and that's that CEIP project agreement. So what this means is that that project agreement replaces any other service contracts that you would typically sign with your contractors. So some contractors have their own agreements they would usually sign with you. You're not going to sign that one, you're going to sign the project agreement instead. To simplify things a little bit, this slide is the checklist of things that have to happen before any work can begin on your project. So the first thing is that we'll review and approve that project application. Second is signing the agreement, so getting the Clean Energy Improvement Agreement and project agreement signed. Third is receiving that installation authorization notice email from us, letting you know that work can begin. And finally, and this is probably the most important on this list because it often gets forgotten or it can be forgotten, is that it is the responsibility of your qualified contractor and you as the property owner to make sure that if there are permits required for the work that you're doing, that you apply to the city for those permits before work begins. So we recommend that all property owners contact their contractors and ask them whether permits are required for the project before work actually starts and make sure that they're actually applying for those. If you don't have those in place before your upgrade is complete, it will delay payment to the contractors through the program because the permits have to be in place and inspections have to be passed before funds can be released to the contractor. So once an upgrade is fully installed, your contractor is going to provide you with a quote, or pardon me, an invoice for the work that they've done. Then you would submit that along with a completed upgrade completion form and any other supporting documents that we need for that upgrade to Alberta municipalities for review. Again, with each upgrade on the website, there's a list of documents required at application, and there's also a list for documents required at upgrade completion. So you can go through that checklist and make sure you've got everything. Submit that to us along with that invoice. And if all of the information we receive is the same as what was agreed to in your project agreement or your Clean Energy Improvement Agreement, then we'll pay the contractor directly on your behalf for the work that they've done. Important note here, upgrade installations do have to be completed within 6 months of receiving the installation authorization notice. So you do have, once you get that email from us, you've got 6 months to actually get your project complete. We also may conduct a site visit at this upgrade completion stage just to verify upgrade installations. We select projects at random to check in and make sure that what was agreed to in the agreements is actually what has been installed. So how does contractor payment actually work? If a deposit is required by the contractor, I know we'd mentioned this earlier, you as the property owner are responsible to pay for that amount out of pocket, as Edmonton doesn't advance deposit funds. But as I mentioned, you can request to have that amount that you've paid out of pocket reimbursed to you through the program and added to your financing at project completion. For completed upgrades, we will issue payment on the municipalities and your behalf directly to contractors for amounts that are agreed to in those program agreements. The City of Edmonton, as I mentioned, won't approve payment until an upgrade has reached substantial performance. And what we mean by that is that the upgrade is fully installed and operational, and all required permits have passed inspection. So payment for the approved and financeable costs will happen after you submit your upgrade completion form and supporting documents to us, and the installation has been approved by us and the municipality. So we've confirmed that it is actually installed and that all permits are passed. At that point, what we'll do is we'll pay qualified contractors electronically within 28 days of the date of receipt of a proper invoice. So the date on that invoice, we'll make sure that contractors get paid within 28 days of that date, provided that all of the information that's been submitted to us is accurate and complete. So again, really important when you're submitting your final documents to make sure that you're submitting everything that we need. Otherwise, it can delay payment. Another important note here is that the program does follow the terms of the Prompt Payment and Construction Lien Act, which I know most of you probably aren't familiar with, but what it means is that 90% of eligible CEIP costs will be paid within 28 days of receiving that invoice. We're going to hold back the final 10% payment for 60 days from the date that your upgrade was complete, and pay that after 60 days, provided that there aren't any construction liens that appear on your property title. The reason we do this is actually protection for you as a property owner. If your contractor that you hire subcontracts some of the work to somebody else and they don't pay them in a timely fashion, those subcontractors can actually place a lien on your property. And so that 10% holdback, it just gives you some leverage in the case that you have a lien that's been placed on your property. Either you can use that to pay those subcontractors directly, or you can work with your contractor to make sure that they're paying them before you release that final 10%. So that, or before we release it to them. So that's the reason for us holding back that 10%. So we're almost at the end here. Once all upgrades have been installed and the project is fully complete, then you would call your energy advisor again that did your pre-project home energy evaluation, have them come back in and do a post-project energy evaluation. And that's really going to tell you what savings you're hoping to see, or at least the energy savings that you'll see from the upgrades that you've installed. And once that's done, they'll send you an updated homeowner information sheet to give you your updated energy score and your updated energy label for your home. You'll submit those documents along with the invoice for your post-project home energy evaluation to us. And then after that, the City of Edmonton will sign the final CEI agreement with you. So that financing agreement that you entered into initially, you'll do an updated version of that. That'll confirm your final costs. So if anything has changed through the project, this is just the final notice of exactly the amounts that are going to go on your tax roll. And then the amount gets placed on your property tax roll, and you begin repayment through your property taxes. So if you're interested in participating after all of that information, as we mentioned, Edmonton's CEIP residential pilot is going to reopen to pre-qualification submissions on August 22nd, 2022, or 2023, sorry, a year behind myself. We'll open at 11 a.m. We recommend that you start by heading to the Edmonton residential program page. Again, Ashish will pop in some links here in a minute that you can click on and head to learn more about the program, check out the pre-qualification form, make sure you read the Edmonton terms and conditions so you know what's required and that you understand the program and are ready to submit on August 22nd when we open to new Edmonton submissions. All right, any questions? I suspect we have a few that have come in.
Yes, Stephanie, we've had a few questions come in which we've answered, but
Great.
To kind of summarize them for the people that are listening to the webinar, we did get a question about whether the permanent program in spring 2024, that's the date we're targeting for, will have a different interest rate. It will have a different interest rate, but it hasn't been set yet, so we can't really provide that information. So right now, all we can really share is the pilot program, which is going to be reopening on August 22nd, and it has an interest rate of 3.16%. There was a question actually for Stephanie. It was about a specific model of a heat pump and whether that was eligible for CEIP. And we, in the Q&A, we talked about contacting Alberta municipalities who will kind of evaluate the technology, see if it can be eligible and add it to the list, but maybe you can expand on that process.
Yeah, you bet. So what we use is the EnerGuide list, which ultimately comes from NRCan. So go through the Greener Homes program, you can actually find the NRCan list of Energy Star certified heat pumps. And if it appears on that list, then it would be eligible for our program. So the criteria really is, if you have a look on the website under air source heat pumps, it'll tell you that the criteria is that it is Energy Star certified to the most recent version. So as long as it appears on that NRCan list for Energy Star certified heat pumps, it would be eligible for the program. If it doesn't, we have had questions about heat pumps, like air to water heat pumps as an example. There aren't any that exist on that Energy Star list currently. That's a reason, or that's a way where you may want to go through the custom upgrade pathway. If you've got something that's really specific in your home that you can't change to an Energy Star certified version, you may be able to go through the custom path as well. So you can have a look at that on the website and see if that might fit.
Perfect. Yeah. We had a quick question on whether upgrading windows, doors, and insulations were 3 different upgrades, because we had grouped them together in terms of just organizing the slide. But yes, they are 3 different upgrades.
I'm sorry, Ashish, just to clarify on that, if you go to the website, every single upgrade that's listed as an upgrade, those are each individual upgrades.
We had one about whether we could offer an interest-free program like Canada's Greener Homes program, and unfortunately we don't have that right now. But if it wasn't clarified before, you can access both CEIP and Canada's Greener Homes program at the same time for your project to help with that funding.
Absolutely. And it is important to note, I mean, Canada Greener Homes, the 0% interest is really appealing. It's a different program, right? It's not tied to your property taxes. So it's a personal loan. You have to pay it back if you sell your property. That's really the biggest difference. Canada Greener Homes as well. There's just slightly different criteria. If you want to, say, replace a natural gas furnace or a natural gas water heater, you can't do that through the Canada Greener Homes program, but you can through CEIP. So the eligible upgrades lists are slightly different for the programs as well. So depending on what you're planning to do, you need to decide what's going to work best. But as Ashish mentioned, you can use both, and you can definitely access the grant and loan from Canada Greener Homes at the same time that you're using CEIP if you have a larger project.
Yeah, perfect. We had a question about whether the balance of the CEIP loan could be paid off in lump sums over time. And just to answer that specific question is no, but either you pay the CEIP tax along with your regular property tax payments, whether it's annually or monthly, on however you do it, or you can pay off the entire balance of the CEIP loan. So not several lump sums, just one large lump sum to pay off the entire balance. And that early payment can be done without any penalty. Let's see, we have a bunch in the Q&A that are just coming in rapid fire. So I'm just trying to see how we can read them. If you've already done upgrades to your home and received rebates from the city and Canada's Greener Homes, would I have to do a new energy audit, or can I use the one I already had and continue with the upgrades already identified but not done yet?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So if you have had a home energy evaluation done, as long as it's done after April of 2020, it is still technically eligible for use in CEIP. But if you've done upgrades already since having that initial energy evaluation done, you will need to submit a new version. Now, I would recommend reaching out to that same energy advisor because often they will be able to do it for cheaper because they already have all your data for your home. They can do something that's similar to your post-evaluation and just provide you with a new copy of the pre-evaluation. What we're really looking for here is what your baseline is before you participate in the program. So you would need to submit a copy that is true to what your home is right now. And if that means that your old one, you've had upgrades done, you will need to get it refreshed, but it hopefully won't be quite as onerous and as costly as what you did initially, because as long as you're able to reach out to the same energy advisor.
Right. And so what was that timeline again?
In April 2020, I think it's April 1st, 2020, is as long as it was done after that and you haven't completed any upgrades since you've had it done, you could use that.
Got it. We have a question that's kind of more of an opinion. It's not as clear, but they asked, what would motivate a buyer to buy a home with such CEIP upgrades if they will be expecting to pay a higher price for the home due to the upgrades and then incur an additional debt on top of that?
Yeah, so what we usually respond to that, because it's a question we get fairly regularly, is it's all up to the negotiation as part of the home, right? If you're paying more for the home because of the upgrades, then I would say if you're planning to pay the CEIP tax, if the new owner is going to pay the CEIP tax, then you may not, they may negotiate a lower price on the home because they're actually paying for those over time. Or you can negotiate at the time of sale that the CEIP tax is paid off in full as part of the sale as well. So it doesn't have to transfer. It can, but it doesn't have to. So it's really up to you negotiating with a buyer. Really, what we have heard from other programs that have been operating a bit longer than the ones in Alberta is that buyers usually see the benefit of the upgrades that have happened. They're happy to purchase a home that has these upgrades done, that's more energy efficient, that lowers their utility costs and their operating costs over time. So paying that little bit extra on their property taxes isn't typically a big issue because they know they're going to see some energy savings from that as well. So but again, it's up to you at the time of sale, what you negotiate with a potential buyer.
Mm-hmm. I think our colleague is actually answering this question right now, but it might be good to share. It's about process and timeline. When a pre-qualification submission occurs on August 22nd, then an approval decision will take 3 months, give or take. So maybe November 22nd. Is that correct? Is it possible for that decision to occur sooner?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different stages, right? The pre-qualification stage, you can get pre-qualification approval within a few weeks. It doesn't take, and possibly within a few days even. If we have all the information we need at pre-qual stage, then we can let you know that you can move on to the application stage fairly quickly. That's just confirming that you and your property are eligible, though. It's not locking in and confirming your financing. So at that stage, the timeline there is really going to depend on how ready you are with quotes from contractors, with what upgrades you want to have done. If you have your home energy evaluation done already, you may not need the full 3 months that we give you to submit your full application. So if you already have all that information gathered, as soon as you receive that pre-qualification approval, you could submit your full application, and then it will usually take us, depending on volume of applications we're receiving and how complete your application is, it takes us 3 to 4 weeks to process that application and get the agreements actually in place and signed. So let's say you applied on August 22nd with your pre-qual, you were approved within a week or two. You submit your application form the next week, you could in theory have a full application approved by, sort of into October. But it will take us a little bit of time on that full application stage, especially with the 3 upgrades. It does take a little bit longer to process. Again, a lot of that's going to depend on how complete those applications that we receive are. Often we end up having to do quite a bit of back and forth, which delays the process. So.
Perfect. Barbara and Claire are still answering some of the questions that we've talked about just for completion, but we don't have any new ones. I thought with just a few more minutes remaining, since we have some time, maybe we can I can ask a few questions from yesterday's webinar that might be helpful for the people that are here.
Absolutely.
Stephanie, could you kind of maybe talk to the benefit of starting with the EnerGuide. So a lot of people have a lot of decision fatigue. There are a lot of upgrades to do, a lot of categories. Can you kind of explain the value of the EnerGuide audit?
Absolutely. The great thing about the EnerGuide audit is it's really going to help you prioritize what makes the most sense for your particular circumstance. Every home is really different in how it uses energy and how airtight it is, how much insulation it has in it, depending on the age and what renovations have already been done in the home. Everyone is very unique. So that home energy evaluation is going to come in and assess your home in your particular circumstance and give you a real sense of what upgrades you could do that would save the most energy. It's going to tell you the estimated amount of energy that you'll save if you do this upgrade. And so that helps you make that decision as to, okay, if really your goal is to maximize your energy savings, you can go through the list and prioritize what you want to do first.
And Stephanie, and Ashish, I just wanted to mention it is a good question that's been asked within the chat here, and I may defer to your expertise here, Stephanie, as well. So the question is, if you have already done upgrades to your home and received rebates from us and Greener Homes, would they need to do a new energy audit, or can they use the one they already had and continue with the upgrades already identified?
Yeah, we did answer that one, Claire.
Oh, we did. Okay,
yeah, we did. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thanks, Claire.
Yeah.
Another question just from yesterday was about whether people could borrow CEIP or include CEIP for the permit costs. Do you mind talking about that, Stephanie?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a great question. So yeah, permitting fees, any costs that you need to pay to the city to get those permits are an eligible cost through CEIP. They'd be part of the capital cost of your upgrade. So typically contractors will just roll that into their cost for installing your upgrade, and those are eligible to be financed.
Perfect. And Nigel just asked, how do warranties work in the month/years after installation?
Yeah, great question. So it would be, I mean, they're going to be the same as any warranty you get when you're not financing something through CEIP. It would be what's offered through the manufacturer of your actual upgrade, and then also any labor and materials warranty you have through your contractor. There are some minimum requirements through the CEIP program that have to be met, and so those things are on the eligible upgrades list. They are industry standard, though, so typically it's not an issue for those to be met. The one difference is that those warranties do need to be transferable to a new owner. So that's something that it's worth making sure you're talking about with your qualified contractor, making sure that they should understand that all qualified contractors have been trained on the program and they've agreed that their services and their products meet the requirements of the program. But it's definitely worth a conversation because you have the ability to transfer your financing. The program ensures that the warranty is transferable as well.
Okay. I don't see any new questions that are coming in. I think we're okay. If there are any other points you want to kind of clarify, Stephanie?
I think we covered just about everything. So hopefully that yeah, unless there's any other questions. I guess the one thing to note is if you do have questions that come up after this, feel free to reach out to us at hello@myceip.ca. If you have a specific project you're thinking about and you're not sure whether it's eligible, same thing, you can reach out to us. We're always happy to set up a phone call if that works better for you as well. Hopefully, I think, Ashish, were you able to enter or upload the links into the chat? You can head to our website and find more information as well. And reach out if you have any other further questions before August 22nd or even after. We're always happy to help.
Yeah, I'm just putting our contact information. It's hello@myceip.ca,
Perfect.
right?
You got it. Yeah.
And the phone number, but.
And the phone number. Yeah. I guess to note, the phone number it will go to voicemail, but we are responding to those voicemails within a day or two. So you will get a response back from us, but you're not going to get a person right away. So you can choose either leaving a voicemail or sending an email. You'll get about the same response time. And I just to answer it live as well, in case people aren't looking at the chat, I know there was one here about how it's assessed as to whether people can participate in the program. As long as we do take applications on a first come, first serve basis. So provided you're eligible, we will process your applications as they come in, first come, first serve.